Good evening, everyone. We're going to call to order our May 24th, 2022 City Council meeting of Daytona Beach Shores. Sherry, can you take a roll call, please?
Mayor Miller,
Present.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Present.
Councilmember Bryan,
Here.
Councilmember Frizzlone,
Here.
Councilmember Place.
Here.
Thank you. Reverend Bob?
Before we, well, go ahead and stand.
Okay, we'll stand. We're conditioned here.
Yeah, but before we pray, I just would like to ask us to, some of you may have heard the very recent news of the mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas.
No, I did not.
And that may be news to some others, but I'm sure you'll be seeing it. 14 children killed and one teacher. And so I would ask that we would just take a moment of silence to remember them in their
Thank
pain
you.
right now. Lord God, sometimes it's hard to make sense out of the senseless things that happen in our world. Just as our minds begin to wrap themselves around and try to understand what happened in Buffalo, New York just a short time ago, and continue to lift them up in our prayers, we hear of this tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. Hear our prayers for the families of those whose lives have been lost. Innocent children and a teacher. Lord God, at these times as well, we don't often know what to do or what to say. So may our silence speak for our hearts, in our heads and our souls. Lord God, in this moment, we ask for your guidance, not only for understanding of the ways in which we can prevent these things from happening again, but also the ways in which we can be more loving neighbors to one another. The ways in which we can encourage our elected officials to seek the greater good. The ways in which we appreciate these who come together to be your servants. Show forth their faithfulness. Surround them with your care and guide them in these proceedings today as we seek to be the best place we can be. We thank you for this city, for opportunities to live together in peace and harmony, and for the opportunity to be an example to others. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Reverend. This evening, we do not have any ceremonial items, presentations, or public notice. So we're going to go right into the approval of minutes from our City Council meeting on May 10th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes as?
We approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, any discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Politis,
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to the consent agenda, and we have 5 items on there. Do I hear a motion to accept that consent agenda without pulling any items?
I'll move to accept this as read.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on any of those 5 items? If not, let's move on to a roll call. Thank you, Sherry.
Councilmember Politis,
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we'll go on to our city attorney's report. Attorney Vos, what do you have for us this evening?
All right, well, since the last meeting, we finalized the stipulated settlement agreement and reviewed correspondence relating to that, and that had to do with some property at the corner of Gunlawton and Ivanhoe. John worked on the fire truck ladder warranty. He sent information about the rusting issues to the warranty department and scheduled a call to discuss. And today he did talk with the warranty department, and they've scheduled a further meeting with Lieutenant Metters of the Public Safety Department. We also reviewed and provided a legal interpretation of an FDOT contract with the Public Works Department, and that had to do with maintenance on a crosswalk. And we reviewed documents and corresponded with Class Action Counsel for the opioid lawsuit. We researched some issues having to do with basically donations with regard to the American Flood Coalition Mayor's Summit. And we finalized the contract for the purchase of the Chase Bank property.
Thank you, Becky. Do we have any questions for our city attorney? Okay, if not, then we're going to move on to our city manager. He doesn't actually have a written report today. I think he has a couple things to say, and then we remember that we have that drone presentation as well.
Well, if you don't mind, Madam Mayor, can we do the drone presentation first?
Certainly. Angie, can you cue that up for us, please? Thank you. So if those of you that don't know, Friday afternoon we got a call. Treasure Island came down. So I didn't know that it was a scheduled coming down on that date. So I had Captain Fowler sent a couple of his officers. Steve joined me there, a building official. And Treasure Island is officially down. And this is what Thank you, Captain Fowler, for having your officers do this overhead drawing. Was this yesterday?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so this is from yesterday. I'm going to have Stuart come up in a minute too, because I did reach out to Peter from Acres Capital, and I said, have they started hauling out yet? And he said they should have, and I think Stuart, you have a little bit of information on that. Can you give us an update on what you know about hauling out?
Thank you, members, council members. So they have actually started hauling out already with the primary hauler that they have a contract with, and they've also acquired a contract with another hauler. So that hauler will start this week, and they're hoping within 2 to 3 weeks that property will be cleared.
Okay, and then after clearing, is that when the restoration and the
Yes.
growth starts? Okay.
Yeah, so after the debris has been removed, there will be phasing in the fencing program that they have there, and they'll be putting the landscaping on the property.
Okay. Well, council and staff, thank you very, very much. This was what our goal was, to get it down. We appreciate it. Thank you, Angie. We've received a lot of questions about what's going there. And as we've talked about the past few months, right now, what we agreed upon was a demolition and a restoration, hauling away the debris and a restoration, and that's what's gonna happen. When the market is right, when the time is right, when they find the right developer, something will go in there. They have up to the 8 years that we granted it, because we want the right piece of property there. We want the right developer there. So when it's time, that'll happen, but yay to everybody that we got this done. Thank you. Okay, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While we're on the subject of Treasure Island, I certainly want to thank everyone for, since this is my last council meeting in Daytona Beach Shores, to thank everyone for all their support and guidance and everything during the year. But while we're on Treasure Island, I don't know how many people know this, but if it had not been for Councilmember Frizzalone, we probably would not have seen Treasure Island torn down as soon as we did. And I know it took a while anyway. I just want to thank you personally for all your help on that, and you know, a lot of things are relationships, and sometimes those relationships pay off. And in this case, I think it did. I commend you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for all your support over the last. How many years have you been here now?
3.5, almost 4 years. Can we believe that? Wow.
It's been a good 3.5 years, and I know you're running for re-election, and I hope you get another 4 years on top of that. Vice Mayor Lindauer, thank you so much for all your humor, your guidance, your stories over the years that have thoroughly entertained me, and your financial acumen. I think all of those things have served very well the city of Daytona Beach Shores. Councilmember Politis, you added a guiding force in this council and a voice of reason. You've always been supportive of city staff, and I know city staff appreciates that. Thank you so much. You know, no city manager and a council manager form of government is any better than their city council. And thank goodness that we've had some good city councils over the years. Because I always say a manager's no better than their council, and council's no better than their managers. And if I haven't learned anything else in 35 years of doing this and attending probably 1,200 different meetings over that time, that's one thing I've learned. It is a partnership. I know the city will be under a good guidance with their new city manager, Kurt Schwartzlander, and I know he will also entertain that partnership with the city council and embrace it. And I think he will lead the city into the next 10 or 15 years with a lot of courage and a lot of expertise. And I know the council will be in full support of him, and I certainly appreciate that. Thank you to the citizens of Daytona Beach Shores for everything you've been able to do and help me through in the last 22 years. I managed to raise a family here. I lost a son while I was here. I lost a dad while I was here. The people of the city have really boosted me up, and I can't say enough about life is better here. It's better here for a reason, because of the people who are here. Thank you so much.
Well, Mike, we are going to miss you, but, you know, again, thank you for everything that you've done, the development. If you look back 22 years ago, what the city looked like and what it looks like now, we thank you for that. We thank you for our wonderful public safety, our public works, and thank you mostly for the team that you put in place to transition our city. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to, we have no old business, so we're going to go to new business. That's Resolution 2022-01, resolution to join the American Flood Coalition. Becky, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, certainly. This is resolution number 2022-01, a resolution of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, providing for the City of Daytona Beach Shores to become a member of the American Flood Coalition, providing for savings, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Stuart, do you want to come up first, and then we'll introduce Kate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief because Kate's here and she's the expert at this. Staff is recommending approval of this particular resolution. The American Flood Coalition is a 501c3 organization made up of NGOs and different partners, and the goal of this particular organization is to essentially come up with national solutions towards sea level rise and flooding here in the United States of America along the coastline and along other areas as well. We have 99 members, if I'm counting correctly, here in the state of Florida, and we have 8 in Volusia County, and we have over 200 throughout the United States. Staff is recommending approval of this, and if there's any specific questions, I'll look at Kate, the expert.
And I want to thank Kate for the opportunity. I met her at the last roundtable, and I was texting both of our city managers, I call them both now, and say, are we in this? And they said, and I said, well, we need to be, so we immediately came back. So thanks for the opportunity. Kate has also asked me to be the mayor from Volusia County representing, and I would have loved to do that, but that's our new city manager's first day on the job, and it was a city council meeting. So I declined this time, but she said she'll ask me again. So hopefully I can represent Volusia County as the mayor next year. Kate, if you want to come up, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Kate Wessner with the American Flood Coalition. Thank you for the opportunity to present this to you. The resolution in front of you is to become a member at no cost, no legal obligation to the city. In fact, we will be providing you with resources and tools so that your city will have information on how to communicate with your residents, examples of vulnerability assessments, some things you may have already done, and just kind of help you and the staff at the city work on solutions and be a voice for you, whether it's in Washington, D.C. or in Tallahassee, but to help us find solutions and not just causes of flooding, and be able to protect our communities, protect our residents, protect our businesses. And I'm proud to say that as of today, the Volusia County Chamber of Commerce has officially joined as well.
Great, good.
In addition to 8 municipalities, we have the Chamber of Commerce welcome anyone individually that would like to be a member. Again, there's no cost. We're just a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. Florida is our first state, and then we've expanded to the Carolinas, to Texas, some of these other states that are really taking on these challenges of the future. But I appreciate your consideration of this resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And what questions do we have for Kate this evening? Any questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept this resolution to join the American Flood Coalition?
I move we approve Resolution 2022-01.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Wow, and any discussion at all? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer.
Yes.
Councilmember Plius.
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Kate, for being here this evening, and thank you for the honor of inviting me to be at Washington next time. Thank you. Okay, next, we're going to go on to Resolution 2022-02, Banking Signature Update. Can you give us, read that for us, please? Debbie?
Yes, ma'am. This is Resolution 2022-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, designating signatories of city accounts and superseding any previous resolution, so designating and providing an effective date.
Okay, thank you. And I think our soon-to-be Director of Finance, Lawyer Wynn, will give us an update on this. Tell us a little bit of what it's
Yes,
about.
good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Staff is recommending approval of this resolution. It's just normal operations because of City Manager Booker retiring, and he is one of the main signatories on all of our bank accounts, along with the finance director, current finance directors, Kurt Swartzlander, and then Sherry Schwab also is one. So this just removes Mr. Booker. Sorry, it's a little hard too, because
I could stay on. I might get some extra money in retirement.
And what it does is it takes Mr. Booker off these accounts and then adds me as the new finance director as of the date of his retirement as a third signatory to the account. Because with all of the accounts, we require 2 signatures, so we have 3 people for that.
Okay, all right, so it will be yourself, Sherry, and Kurt.
Kurt.
Great, so formality.
Correct.
All right, do I hear a motion to accept Resolution 2022-02?
I so move to accept Resolution 2022-02.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or any questions for our soon-to-be Finance Director? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll on this, please?
Councilmember Plius.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you.
Vice Mayor Lindauer.
Yes.
Okay, next, we're going to move on to item for consideration, investment management opportunities. Does this have to do with our treasury bond? Okay, and Lori, can you come back up again? And so this is a follow-up from last month
meeting.
when I think a couple of people had reached out to you or to Kurt,
Yes,
Treasurer
ma'am.
Bond. Okay, great. If you can talk to us
So
about
what
that.
happened is, after the last council meeting and council members mentioning the thought of investing some of the money into U.S. Treasuries, Kurt and myself went and looked into that. Now, because we are not investment advisors, we actually started talking to Seacoast Bank, who we bank with, and we talked with Chase Bank, which is JP Morgan Investments, and we Vanguard also, and looked at what the best would be for the city. And that is what we're here for you to decide. Vanguard, no, there is no cost to that, but they don't give you any advice at all for any of your investments. And again, as I stated, Kurt and I are not registered investment advisors, where they can be looking at things, looking to the future. They take the time to do that. That is their job. Now, Seacoast Bank, they have that, but they're charging 25 basis points with a minimum of $6,000 a year. Again, that is your choice, but they do, it's fully managed. And then there is JP Morgan, who is charging 5 basis points, and it's fully managed. We actually looked into Bank of America, but haven't heard anything back yet. And we're looking at, I think currently there's $15 million because of our current investment policy. We're only allowed to invest up to 50%. It gives us about $15 million.
Is that something we want to look at, Lori, changing in the future, like at a
Yes.
future meeting? Okay.
Yes, that's something that Kurt and I thought we could write up and be looking at in another meeting.
Do we have any accounts left with Bank of America?
Yes, we do.
Okay, they didn't reach back out to us. I don't know a lot about it either, so I'm gonna, I like myself, and this is just a personal thing, the relationship that we have with JP Morgan and Chase Bank. I mean, I think they're a great community partner. I know it won't be anyone next door, but I would like to build on that relationship. So you, as the Director of Finance, and Kurt are not making any recommendations, you're just giving us the information and
As staff, we are recommending, I mean, we looked at it, recommending JP Morgan Chase of the three, looking at them. But again, that is
Right, okay.
up to you.
All right. That makes sense for the little bit I know.
I have a
Richard?
couple of questions. 5 basis points, is that of the total amount that they manage? Or
Total amount invested.
and at any given time, it's 5% per year? It would be like average over a year, I guess, right?
5 basis points, yes, as what we invest. Whether we do a 1 year, 2 year,
And well, 5 basis points, it's not the annual?
no, it's based on the investment. So if we invest $100 million, it's what, $5,000?
It's each time we do a purchase of the bonds? or-
No, it's, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead. I mean,
No, it's a management fee, which it is 5 basis points of investments under management.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's every year,
It's ongoing,
It's ongoing.
and it goes up and down. If we invest $30 million, it's going to be $7,500, $15, and so forth and so on. So
that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify.
and then,
Also, I think we need to make sure, whatever contractual relationship, that that's all they're getting, and that they're not going to be like buying them at the bid price and selling, or at the ask price and selling them to us at the bid price, for example.
and are we doing, okay. And are we laddering these that we're doing like a year, 18 months, or?
Yes, and Kurt and I were looking at, and we've been talking with them, laddering them with, whether it's year, 2 year, 6 month, 18 month.
Okay. Vice Mayor, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on what Laurie said. I don't think with treasuries there should be any restriction, 100% in treasuries, because they're totally safe, fully backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. So there should be no restriction on investing in treasuries. But I think we may have to make a change, because currently, if I'm correct, you're only allowed to put 50% in treasuries.
Correct.
And I don't think there should be any limit on the city's investment in treasuries. And I think that we need to, whoever needs to bring it to us for approval at a future meeting, I think we should consider that.
We will bring it to a future meeting.
Do you know how long ago we had that? Was it a resolution or does anyone know how long ago that was we had that in place?
I know it went back to 2003, I believe.
Yeah, I think there was a 2008 resolution well before Lori and I, and we discovered it after this agenda was being published. So we'll probably bring that back at the next city council meeting to make that amendment as the vice mayor was suggesting.
Okay, and then at that time, will you also bring it back to us to see, did we really want 75% or 100%? Will that be on the same evening?
Yes, that would be all part of that same resolution, and I agree with the vice mayor that there's no reason that our policy can't read 100% in government-backed securities. As I believe I've said individually to members of the council, if our federal government can't back their securities, we have bigger problems than the Economy Shorts will have with their 15 to 20 million in the bank. So I think 100% change on that policy works.
Okay.
You know, one thing I'd like to point out, that doesn't mean that we have to put 100% in. That's just a limit. That right now it says you can only put 50% in, which at this present time, we may want to put 75%, but can't do it, so.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
could I ask a few questions and then also make a few proposals? First of all,
certainly.
I'm glad that Councilman Frizzalone is still on the board, because this is what he has done for a living. This is the sum and substance of his career and his success. So I really hope that he will be able to still be on to get involved. But if the finance director and maybe the manager could talk to other municipalities and see what companies or what brokerage houses they have dealt with, there may be a little bit of shopping we can do. And number two is, I would not, I'm sure that they'll receive proposals, but I would like to listen to that. I mean, I'm no God's gift to financial planning, but I have a degree in corporate finance and worked for Merrill Lynch once, so I'll throw my 2 cents in there. And then, yeah, we could look at, not leaving the money in cash where it doesn't earn that much or very little at all, and then we can look at loosening up our policy and our resolutions and allow us to invest more to take advantage of rising interest rates, and having the taxpayers see us using their money and having their money make money with just sitting in an investment vehicle that's safe, like Vice Mayor Lindauer said.
Okay. So tonight, do we want to give them the approval to go ahead with the chase? Or, I feel like you've reached out to have you talked to any other cities, Lori?
No,
Okay.
we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I'm sure someone else has already invented the wheel. Let's see if there's, particular companies may specialize in investing for municipalities, knowing the restrictions and kind of the parameters of what they can and can't do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we're using these bonds or whatever they're called, are they?
Treasury bills.
Treasury, okay. Isn't this rather new, that if you would have done that a year or two ago, you wouldn't have made the money? The reason why it was suggested by a couple people up here. So is there a chance that other cities might not have them, that they're just looking at them right now?
There's a possibility. It's based on their portfolio.
Okay, all right. So do we want to table this for this evening and have Lori bring it back to us the next meeting, that we'll do a resolution to not tie our hands at the 50%? And also in the meantime, she could look into other cities. I think they've checked probably the top 5 that we're going to be looking at as far as purchasing them, but do we want to combine it all in the next meeting?
Madam Mayor. One of the things I'd like to see discussed too, then, if we're going to be talking about this again, is a sliding scale rather than a flat X basis points. I'd like to see the basis points for $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $15 million, whatever. Put some break points in there where we're not paying the same rate if we're doing 15 million as somebody that's doing 5 million. So if we can work that into the whole thing, I think that would benefit us too.
Okay.
When you, when you ask J.P. Morgan and the others, did you give them a dollar amount?
Yes, and the 15 million, we were actually talking more like 20 million because this was prior to us looking at the investment policy, and at that point, that was the rate.
But your understanding is
So, I mean, it's a lot more than 20
they bid
million.
that based on assuming it was 15 to 20 million.
Correct.
And there's no one else bid, it was just J.P. Morgan that we got the 5 basis points?
Vanguard and Seacoast Bank.
What was Vanguard and Seacoast Bank?
Vanguard doesn't charge anything for treasuries. We didn't even ask, I mean, there is a fee for anything else, but again, it's not managed, and we're not capable.
Yeah, so they're looking for someone with the expertise as well. And Seacoast was how much?
25 basis points.
Plus a
Plus a
$6,000 annual fee.
Minimum annual.
So if I just,
Go, no, absolutely.
yeah, I think in terms of practicality, I'm fine waiting, but having said that, the professional management that we're talking about is simply the laddering. I want to be clear about that. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page of professional management, it's not a question of them telling us what treasuries to buy. Treasuries are treasuries are treasuries. It only comes down to one thing, the maturity, and whether you want to have 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and whether you want to build a ladder. So if you feel comfortable, or if we feel comfortable as a council to be able to build that ladder, you can be able to do that yourself and go to Vanguard. That is an alternative. The other piece of it is there really is not going to be a sliding scale, Vice Mayor, because 5 basis points, 5 bips is so low that you're kind of squeezing the nickel there pretty hard. So I don't think it's going to make much difference, particularly when one is at 25 basis points. I would recommend for protection, for simply protection, to have and pay the 5 basis points and stick with J.P. Morgan. The two biggest banks in the world are J.P. Morgan and Bank of America. They are the two big dogs in this whole thing. And I think it gives you and Kurt protection, right? It gives an air of protection. Even though we can build a ladder, right? You can come back to us and say 30, 60, 90. It helps having that kind of professionalism to have them make a recommendation to you, which then you make a recommendation to council. And I think it protects the residents of the city. At the end of the day, you guys are great, I think we're great, but who knows what happens in the future. And I think having somebody professionally give us what they recommend as a ladder, I think for 5 basis points, it's an absolute steal. I mean, you're not going to ever get professional management for 5 basis points. It's not even, I mean, they're clearly just doing us a favor, basically saying, I'm not going to hold you up here, but I will give you professional oversight. So again, it's a question of, A, do we build our own ladder and save the 5 basis points and go with Vanguard, or do we allow them to help recommend a ladder? And I think just out of just professionalism and just due diligence, it's much better for them to build that ladder and then for our city staff, Madam Mayor, to make the recommendation to council.
All right. So Lori, when you come back next month, will you do a little bit more checking like we requested on other cities? Maybe look at 1 or 2. But to Rick's point, you reached out to the 2 biggest. One didn't get back to you, and the other one we have the relationship with.
And Madam Mayor, I think they didn't get back because there's simply no money. 5 basis points doesn't move the needle at all for these companies. So it's I think J.P. Morgan is kind of doing us a favor, to be perfectly candid with you. Your point is well taken.
All right, so, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to point out, that I wasn't suggesting that we go back out. I was saying if we do go back out, because I buy treasuries all the time, and I can tell you it takes 5 minutes to buy a treasury. Whether you're buying it for $1 million or $5 million or $10 million, it's the same amount of time. So what I'm saying is that if you start getting into bigger numbers, and we're going out, I don't have a problem with the 7,500 now. If we need to approve it, I would vote for it. But if we're going back out, that's when I say we should ask for a sliding scale, simply because it takes 5 or 10 minutes to buy a treasury, and if it's $1 million or 5 million or 10 million, it's all the same time. So we should get a better rate on 15 million or 30
You're
million.
not going to get a better rate than 5 basis points.
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask, Rick. That's my whole point.
So, all right, so you reached out to 4, basically. Maybe if you could look at one more and then check with some of the other cities and then bring this back to us along with the resolution.
So, Madam Mayor, just for the record, so that people, if we were to buy a 2% treasury bond, right? Just like a CD, but it's a treasury bond, 2%. What we would be talking about is we would be getting 1.95%, and they would be getting 5 basis points. So take a deep breath on that. I mean, if interest rates rise to, say, 3%, we would get, instead of 3%, we would get 2.95%. That is a small price to have the protection and oversight of a J.P. Morgan's professional management team giving advice to our city staff, which then gives advice to a council. That is a small price to pay.
I have a comment to make. I agree it's a small price, as long as we make sure that's all they're getting, and that they're not buying from somebody else that's making a profit.
Well, again, to Mel's point, Vice Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
To the Vice Mayor's point, there is no bid or ask spread on Treasury.
No, I'm just saying.
There's a discount.
I understand that.
The discount is for everybody, so it's the same for matter of who's buying, Richard. There's no bid or spread.
I understand,
Okay,
but,
fine.
you know,
There's no markups.
another way of saying that is make sure they're buying on the primary market as opposed to the secondary market. But the other thing is, every day we wait to make this additional 1.5, it's probably somewhere between $500 and $1,000.
All right, so again then, all right, so let's circle back. And, you know, again, I'm relying on the expertise. Both of you seem to think that 5%, we aren't going to get any better than that. I like the idea of an expert, you know, that we can go to. Can we give Lori the approval this evening for the 15 million with Chase Bank so they can get this rolling as soon as possible? And then at the next meeting, she'll bring us back, whether any other cities are doing anything, and then we'll have another 15 or so million to work with, correct? And you'll have those other answers.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I move we do that.
All right.
I second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Sherry, do we need a roll or just a verbal?
No, I'm going to do a roll.
Okay.
I want to make sure, was Councilmember Frizzalone, did you do the second? Or was it?
No, it was Vice Mayor Lindau.
Vice Mayor, thank you. Okay, here's a roll call vote. Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Politis,
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzalone.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. All right, so thank you very much, Lori. I'm sorry if we went around. Okay, all right, so next month we'll get that answer.
Circle
Thank you.
all around.
You're gonna get let's make sure we get a free toaster out of that, you know?
Yes.
Isn't that what they used to give back in the old days, a toaster or a coffee pot?
He's got 2 girls, he's cooking breakfast for them. We gotta go.
No, it's for the city, not for me.
Okay, next, we're going to move on to economic development, a lease subsidy grant application, and our Director of Economic Development, Nancy Maddox, will explain this to us.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. We're here this evening to discuss Carmine's Pizza. And the Economic Committee has met, and we agreed to move for approval. And also, I have a correction. I handed out to all of you. I didn't add the 3% increase in the rent for the 2 years following the first year. So those are the new adjusted numbers. So the total grant amount is for $7,344.
And this equates to the 30, 20, and 10 as we've approved recently.
And then Pat from Carmine's Pizza, the owner, is here if you have any
Pat,
questions.
thank you for joining us this evening. We're glad to have you in the Shores. I know it took a while here.
Yeah, he used to be a resident here. He's not no longer, but he's...
Life is better, you need to move back.
I'm going to move back.
Oh, yeah. What questions do we have for either our Director Maddox or for Pat? And does everyone know where this is located? It's in the Pappas Plaza, is that correct? Do you have the exact address?
It is at 2506 South Atlantic Avenue.
Okay, and I think we have a menu included in here as well.
We do. Pizza's good, I've had it already. So.
I was going to say, I got a question, Madam Mayor. How's the pizza?
This is very good. I think you did have it for one of your birthday party or function?
Yes, for a birthday party, staff birthday party, we had pizzas, yes, it was very good.
Okay. Any questions for either of them?
How long have you been open?
Right now, about 4 weeks.
Yes. Wow. Okay, so do any other questions, or do we hear approval to approve this for the 30, 20, and 10, if we have talked completely before, for a grand total of $7,344?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Yep. There's no other discussion. Sherry, can you take the roll on that, please?
Councilmember Frislow?
Yes.
Councilmember Colitis?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next, this is something that we do every year. So the Florida League of Cities has an annual conference. This year it's going to be in Hollywood, Florida. I believe it's, I'm sorry.
You missed the Chase Bank.
Oh, all right. We're moving on to purchase and sales agreement for Chase Bank Properties. Is that Lori or is that you, Kurt? Thank you, Sherry.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. I'm trying to remember when we first brought back the original letter of intent. I don't remember when that was, but if you remember, I reported they accepted our letter of intent to purchase, and the purchase and sale agreement you have before you, after many back and forths with Chase and their counsel, we have a version that I believe all parties are now happy with. And so we're asking for your approval of that purchase and sale agreement. Just to let you know, Chase will not take it to their official approval process until we sign our side of it. So there's still a, I believe I put 6 to 8 week process from what Chase has told me for their official, like, board approval of their side of the purchase and sale agreement. And at that point, then the due diligence period and everything kicks in. And during that period, under our city charter, we cannot convey property either direction without an ordinance. So in the future, you will see an ordinance bringing this back to formalize the closing and all of that on this property. And for the public's benefit, if they are not aware, this is the piece of property next to our existing Public Works building. And this is proposed to be used for an expansion to that Public Works building at in a future budget year, probably not next year, but future years, probably 5 to 7 years out.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, for purposes of the audience, could you just cover the major T's and C's and the price?
The biggest issue is we're paying $175 for the property. There are some restrictions that Chase wanted on the property. Certain uses, they didn't want us to put another bank in right behind them, or an investment facility, or they didn't want some things like gambling parlors or massage parlors, things like that. So there's certain restrictions in there, and they were concerned about height, so we said we would agree to not go any higher than an additional 25% of our existing building. So the reason we wanted an expansion is there's a big piece of equipment we would like to buy that does not fit in the existing garages. So we would need to go a little bit taller, but that 25% would more than cover what staff would like to use that property for. And they do want it to, the other restriction is that it basically is going to look just like the Public Works building. So same color, exterior decor of the existing building. So we're not going to put a purple and blue building. or something crazy back there, it'll look just like the Public Works building. Does that kind of cover
Yeah.
everything?
Okay. The back and forth was not over the price at all, it was just the Ts and Cs, right?
Yes, it really was the restrictions. For example, they said no, they didn't want a warehousing type thing, and I said, well, that is our warehouse type of situation. So we basically ended up cleaning up the language that the building can be used for typical municipal purposes, I think was the language, or something similar to that, that we came up with in there. And I think that will cover anything the city would ever need to use it for.
Okay. Any other questions for Kurt? Well, great job. I know it took quite a while, but thank you for the negotiations that you did. We appreciate it. And there was was there a vote on that, or it's a done deal?
No, we'll need a vote on it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The vote is to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
I so move.
Second?
Sure, can you take a roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Plettis?
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we will go on to, every year the Florida League of Cities has an annual conference. This year it will be August 11th through the 13th in Hollywood, Florida. And we need to appoint a voting delegate for the conference this year. I believe Councilman Politis, you will not be attending, is that correct?
Probably not, but when is it?
August 11th through the 13th in Hollywood, Florida.
Well, I wouldn't mind going to Hollywood, but no.
California.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, Hollywood, but it does have the Hard Rock.
Yes,
But we're
it
staying
does.
at the Diplomat, but Hard Rock. Anyway, I believe the only three that are planning on attending are myself, the Vice Mayor, and Councilman Bryan. So I guess one of the delegates need to be one of the three of us.
I'd like to nominate Mel. He's done a good job in the past. I see no reason to fire him.
I accept.
Okay, great. I think that's all we need. Do we need a vote on that?
No, ma'am.
No, okay, all right. So Mel will be our representative. Okay, so next we're going to go on to council comments. Councilman Bryan, what do you have for us this evening?
Just one minor thing on the smoking legislation. I did talk with Tara Tigert, and the Florida League of Cities met with the governor's staff, and they said they were going to recommend approval, but nobody knows when it's actually going to be sent to the governor. And that's true of some of the other bills that we're interested in. They're still in the legislature. They haven't been sent to the governor yet, and they eventually will be. They can't keep them there indefinitely, but we just don't know exactly when they'll go to the governor. Once they go to the governor, he has 15 days to sign it, veto it, or just let it become law without his signature.
Okay, so the one, naturally that we're interested right now that has a time limit on it is the special events. And I also did reach out to Tom Leake and Tom Wright.
Yeah, they don't.
No. Anyway, all right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
I'd just like to compliment Nancy Maddox and all the city staff for the job they did at the Armed Forces Day celebration. And getting the Navy band there was a real coup. They were really good. And the city staff, when I talked to them, they told me that they, remember, it was supposed to be rained out, so they went from outside to inside, and then it didn't rain, they went from outside to inside. So they weren't quite sure where it was going to be, but it turned out to be a beautiful day outside, and it was a great event, and hats off to you, Nancy, and your staff.
And I didn't worry about it a bit.
That's it.
You trust the staff, right?
No, I text Nancy at 4 o'clock in the morning. She said, we'll decide in a couple hours, go back to bed. I don't have anything. Again, it was a beautiful, beautiful event. For those of you that couldn't be there, you missed something really nice. It was a great event. Thank you, Nancy, for everything you did there. Again, just to remind you of a couple things. So we are going to have our food truck concert this Friday from 4:30 to 8:30 at the Pavilion. Mel and I were just at an event and we ran into Kelly. and she is so excited about coming. So this is a really great group from around this area. Everybody from Halifax, well, except Ray. Right. Okay. That works at Halifax, the lead attorney, the communication, so it'll be a great evening. And then again, I want to remind you too, so we will not be having our normal coffee with the mayor on June 8th. We will be having, the mayor presents the new city manager, and he in turn will present his management team. So it's going to be a great evening from 5 to 7 upstairs. I think that's all I have. Thank you. Councilman Frizzle?
Yeah. In a world where you have in Texas, their Jeep Week, I think there's 8 people who unfortunately died in that. And when you have school shootings, we have 2 folks here tonight who will be honored on Thursday night with awards. And they have kept our city safe. That is City Manager Booker and Chief of Police Dubinsky. I think that from my perspective, and I think my fellow council members and the rest of the people in the Daytona Beach shores, you guys have been one of the best 1-2 punches on the planet. You've kept our city safe. You've done just yeoman's task, the 2 of you together. I know you're dear friends. I know you're friends, probably lifelong, but I will tell you that that friendship has paid off in spades for the residents and businesses of Daytona Beach Shores. My hat's off to both of you for what you achieved.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well said. Councilman Politis?
I got to dovetail what Councilman Frizzle, but when are we going to become commissioners anyway?
Maybe in November.
In November, okay. Councilman, commissioner.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure that you had your jaw fixed, Nancy, because it dropped when you saw me come Friday night for the awards banquet, and then I showed up Saturday morning for the Armed Forces. So I attended.
Who is this man?
Yeah, I know. Well, it got rained out at Rockville. So.
Oh, we were second best.
But for the people that are listening and for the residents that weren't aware, they had an awards banquet for the Public Safety Department. And I was telling Captain Fowler, and of course, I'll discuss it with Chief Dubinsky later, but I was amazed at how small our department is and how young, but the awards that these officers received that Friday night, saving someone for committing suicide and jumping off a balcony, saving kids that are drowning, shootings, just drug interdiction, just so many different things. And they're police officers, so they run the gamut of everything. And that's why you can walk here at nighttime. You can jog in the middle of the night. And if you're at a place at 1, 2 in the morning, you will be field interrogated to determine the nature of your business in here. And so I got to say kudos to public safety and then the armed forces, what Nancy put together, and it was such a nice presentation and such a heartfelt tribute to our military. He dialed it in like a clock, and then Kurt's going to take over and make sure he puts some grease on the wheels, and God willing, we'll still have a great city for years to come.
You're here.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any audience comments that I have written up, but as always, does anyone have anything they'd like to say? Okay, if not, we've already given you some recommendations for the next agenda. Is there anything else that you can think of that we need to add? If not, we can reach out to Sherry if we do. Thank you very much for everybody coming and everyone online. The meeting